Tom Wynn, other brother Tom Wynn. Uh, I'm so happy to be here with you today. And thank you so much for joining me in this session. And I know there's a lot that's going on in the world today, right now. With the COVID-19, there's just so much fear and anxiety and so much stress right now in people's hearts, people's lives. And I think spiritually, the Lord is inviting us to look at how can we cast out this fear? How can we cast out fear, and how can we allow ourselves to trust the Lord at this time? So I am so grateful that everyone's here, and I want to just invite you to join me in my own story, my own life, and why this topic is so important to me, and how we can find ways to cast this fear out and in our lives to trust the Lord more. This past month has been really quite a journey for me. I wouldn't believe the adventure that has been in store for me. And beginning of the month, I was able to travel, and I planned this trip to go to the Holy Land for over a year now. I asked the Lord to allow me to go on this trip and this pilgrimage, and the brothers said yes, and then I had this great gift and sponsor to go to the Holy Land, and I was all excited about all this trip months ago. Months ago, I was planning for this trip and getting excited. And on March 5th, I jumped on a plane, and right when I landed to Israel, I heard that we were like the last group. We were the last group to enter into Israel, and no one could leave. No one could come in after us. So, but we can continue our stay there. And at first, I thought there was this anxiety. I felt this anxiety within me. I was just like, oh my gosh, something's happening. And I had to pay attention to it. And I noticed this fear in me. Yet I had to trust in the experience. I had to trust in this pilgrimage. Part of being a pilgrim is recognizing that we're on a journey together. And I take this really important in my life. We're on this journey of faith. We're on this journey to walk with each other, in this world, and to get through those moments and those crosses. So when I was on this trip over there, I couldn't believe how the Lord was speaking to me, how the Lord was opening up my heart through all these experiences. And my first day there, we had a meeting with the friars. We had a meeting with our group, and they said, you gotta trust us. You gotta trust, and you gotta enter into this experience and allow the Lord to take you on this experience. So I had to learn how to do that. And I remember the first day we stayed there in Nazareth, I was at the Annunciation, the place of the Annunciation. We had this great first day that we were able to see the place where the incarnation happened into our world, where this grace came into our life, where this grace blessed us with the gift of Jesus. And I went to bed that night in peace. And then all of a sudden, at 3 a.m. in the morning, I get this knock on the door. And I was just like, what's going on? And I was anxious and stressed and sleepy, and everyone said, Father Tom, you gotta come out. So I was like, okay. So I went out there, and I got the news that one of the people from America called And they said, you got to get out. You got to get out of Israel. Because of this virus, you got to get out or they're not going to be able to let you leave. And I sat with that. And I was so scared at that time. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. And everyone was trying to book rooms and book flights to go back to the U.S. And I went to my room and I started to look up flights. I started to panic and I bought a ticket. Afterwards, it's 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm still awake. And the Lord said to me, trust me. You got to trust me in this. You got to let go of your fear, and you got to allow me to guide you. And this is so important in our lives as young adults, in our lives of faith. How do we trust the Lord in moments that causes us so much anxiety, so much fear? And I ask myself, why is this fear happening in me? Why is this fear happening in me? And I know a lot of you may be asking this question, why do I fear this? And I think the Lord invites us to take a look at how can we continue to let go, surrender and allow the Lord to guide us, to help us through. And in that moment where I booked the ticket, I said, I'm going to go on this pilgrimage, trusting in you, Lord. So I canceled my ticket to go back home. I could have gone home and I canceled my ticket. And we went on the bus, and I had to trust the friars that were leading the pilgrimage. I had to trust the group, the experience. We had to cancel all our plans, cancel everything, and we had to go day by day and day by day. We didn't know what was going to happen. Yet, what happened every day, the Lord planned for us. Every day, the Lord allowed us to experience His grace, allowed us to experience, even in the midst of being pilgrims, in the midst of going to a place and being rejected and having to go to another place, we had to trust that the Lord will provide for us. And I invite you to take this part of your spirituality, take this part of your life, that wherever you go, whatever is happening in your life, how do you allow the Lord to guide you? To find this courage. And to know that the Lord is going to set everything for you. And He did for me. So the friars, they planned every day. And each day was something new. Each day was something different. And we were able to go to Gethsemane, to pray there alone, and all the sites that we went to were basically empty because everyone went home. And that was a blessing. To be able to pray where Jesus prayed, to be able to pray in the suffering moments where Jesus suffered in His life, to be able to walk His footsteps, and to be able to understand that we are journeying with the Lord. One of the blessings I had on this trip was to pray at Gethsemane. And as we prepare to enter Holy Week, we're praying with the Lord in His agony. And there I got this revelation. There was a story about this friar who went from Italy. He was a friar from Italy, and he came to Gethsemane to stay for a summer. And in that summer, he was only set to stay there for that summer. And after that summer, he said, I want to stay here longer. So he ended up staying there for 4 years. And he was known to be a holy friar. And sometimes he would be known to sleep on the rock that Jesus prayed on in the agony of the garden. And someone asked him one day before he died, "Why did you stay here?" And the friar looked at the person and said, "Because here in the agony in the garden is the moment where Jesus suffered the most in his life. It was here in this garden that Jesus suffered the most in his life." And I reflected on that. It really hit me hard. And we sat there in Gethsemane, in this garden, at night, all by ourselves, a holy hour with the Lord, to pray with the Lord. And I asked myself, how, Lord, did you not run? Because when death is at your door, knocking, and you knowing that the cross is ahead, you could have run. And many of us, when we fear, our first instinct is to run, to book it out of here. And I look at the Lord, and he did not run. He prayed to you, "O Lord, our God." And he asked for this cup to be taken away. But in his discernment, in his prayer, he embraced this reality. He embraced this cross. And the friar said, when Jesus embraced the will of God, that is when the cross became. That is when the cross became life. When he embraced the suffering. And I think this is really important in your lives, in our lives right now, in our lives as young adults, as young people in our church right now. How do we not run from fear? How do we take the cup that is ours, embrace it, and drink from it? Because from it, we embrace life. And I wondered how Jesus was able to embrace this suffering. He was not afraid of it. He willingly accepted and embraced the suffering, embraced the cross. Every step of the way, the Lord was with him. Every step of the way, he was able to find strength. How and why did he do this? Because he trusted the Lord. And in our life, I think when we enter into moments of suffering or the things that we don't want to do or the things that scare us, walking into them, being grounded in God's love for us, being grounded and knowing that God is there, you are not alone. And that's what helped Christ continue his path. That's what helped Christ continue this walk of suffering. Embraced it. And I think about his life. And I think about our life in America. Have we embraced life and death? I think we're afraid to die. Yet I think the question is, why do we fear it? Why do we fear death so much? And a lot of my reflection has brought me to this reality. Maybe we haven't truly lived in beautiful ways. I looked at Jesus' life, and in his years of ministry, he lived so beautifully, vibrantly. He entered into people's lives. to the Samaritan woman, to the tax collector, to the prostitute, to the one suffering, to the lepers. He entered into their lives and gave them life. He gave them purpose. He forgave, taught us how to forgive. Jesus lived a full life. And maybe why we're afraid of dying, because we haven't lived. We haven't forgiven each other. We haven't been able to appreciate the relationships that we have. Appreciate our family. How do we reach out to those that are in need, like Jesus did? And in his living, he shows us how to gracefully die, embracing the cross, embracing the suffering, and knowing that his love is there for us. That's what helps us to get past fear, is the courage to know that we're loved by God, and this love helps us to carry on through the suffering, through the moments that are so difficult and so hard. Towards the end of my trip, I was able to have Mass at the Holy Sepulchre on the tomb of Jesus. And I was in tears because we were back in the back. There's only a space for 4 friars, 4 people to say Mass back there. And everyone else was in this little room before the tomb. And I was in tears because the tomb was empty. And when I was able to have Mass on there, Jesus appeared right in our hands in the Eucharist. Jesus appeared right there. Appeared in our moments of suffering. Appeared in the moments where we thought we were dead inside. Jesus appears to give us his life, to give us hope, to give us courage to step forward. Embrace the cross so that we can experience resurrection. So that we can be instruments of love, so that we can give love to others that are in need to live life fully, like Jesus has taught us. And it impacts me in a very beautiful and new way. Because throughout the journey of the pilgrimage, even after the tomb, even after that experience at the Holy Sepulchre, he went from place to place. And I remember going to the Dead Sea and enjoying the Dead Sea. When you go to the Dead Sea, it's so fun. You gotta go there and to recognize the joy and love that the Lord gives. That even in the moments of our death, Jesus can give us joy. And we gotta trust in that resurrection that is just around the corner. And I remember when I was at the Dead Sea, we went to another place, and they told us, in that morning for breakfast, they said, you better eat a big breakfast because we don't know when our next meal. Oh my gosh. I stuffed my face so crazy that morning, and I put food everywhere. And but then when we got on the bus, I said, Lord, I trust you. I trust you in this. I don't know when my next meal is going to be, but I got to believe that you're going to provide for us. And he did. Our next place we were going canceled on us, and we were told to go to a place that was open. All the places that we went to, after we went to them, they closed right after we left. And if we planned it any other way, we wouldn't have been able to see the sights that we saw. And God was able to put everything in place for us, and to help us arrive safely. And he gave us food along the way, along the journey. We did not have to worry about that because God provides for us. I think in our time here now, in our world right now, in this time of COVID-19, when there is so much happening around us, we must not lose hope. We must not live in fear. We must live in hope, live in prayer, live in the comfort that God gives, calling us to reach out to one another. Are you okay? Calling us to go back to the relationship that we haven't talked to in such a long time, and saying, can I ask for your forgiveness? I'm sorry. And I love you. So that we can truly live life in beautiful relationships. So that our relationships can flourish. So that our lives can flourish anew. That in the moments where we experience the suffering, we can find ways to bring new life to our hearts, bring new life to our relationships, bring new experiences in our families, to go to our loved ones and say, I'm sorry, to go to the people that we haven't talked to and say, you are my friend. So that before we die, we have lived. We have lived fully, embracing whatever the sufferings. When I got back to the States here, I was quarantined for 14 days. And today's my last day of quarantine. And during the time of prayer, I took it as a retreat. And part of what the Lord was calling me to do was to enter into people's suffering. Part of me was afraid of this. Yet I felt the Lord calling me to say, I must be an instrument of love at this time. So the Lord implanted in my heart to do a ministry that I couldn't imagine. Someone called me, and a doctor called me and said, Brother Tom, can you help us? There are many people in the hospitals that need anointing. And is there a way that you can help us try to figure out something that we can do digitally? Because many priests right now are not able to go into the hospitals. And I felt the Lord calling me to go into the hospitals, to go into and be strength for those that are suffering. And I remember sitting there, meditating, thinking about this, and yet the Lord saying, embrace this. Embrace this life as a Capuchin. Embrace your priesthood. Embrace this call to serve and be with those that are suffering. And in my own heart, I said, I'm not afraid, Lord, because you are with me. I'm not afraid to die, because I love you. And part of that, the invitation the Lord invites me to do, is to know that everything will be all right. Yeah, we're called to live fully. And in my life, I felt called to live fully by sacrificing, by giving my love to others, by giving what little I have so that others can live. And I think this is the invitation the Lord invites us all to do. Each of us has been given a heart filled with love, filled with compassion, filled with God's mercy. Yet today, right now, what will you choose to do with that love, compassion, and mercy? In the midst of something that is so difficult, that causes anxiety, that causes suffering, that is the moments of the cross for us, whatever it is in your life, how do you embrace it and recognize the Lord is there? And in that moment, how do you still love beyond your imagination? The Lord can help you be this instrument of love in this world. You can bring joy. You can bring hope. You can be comfort in a time of this virus. Even in our social distancing, because of our love, because of God's mercy, we can be very near to each other. Do not be afraid, my friends. God is there every step of the way. And Jesus teaches us how to embrace our destiny. Embrace this destiny of eternal life, of resurrection. Because this faith that we have, the seed of faith, this new life that we have in resurrection is what casts out fear. You must believe. You must trust in this resurrection. You must trust that you are not alone. You must trust that God is there every step of the way. And Jesus went through that suffering, that death, so that he could walk with you. There's no need for fear, because he dispels all the darkness. He is the light that shines this pathway to this new life that we seek. In this time, I invite you to ask yourself, how do you want to truly live? Live the gifts that God has given you. How do you want to truly live your life by the way you have forgiven? By the way you can still love? By the way you can be comforted? By the way you trust in the Lord? By the way you find courage to pick up the cross, embrace it, because you know it leads to life and resurrection. As we enter into Holy Week, I invite you to trust in the Lord. I invite you to know that I'm praying for you, that you pray for each other, that you are loved, and that we may continue to walk forward in faith, knowing that whatever that it is that we fear, we must cast it out and allow light to come through, and allow the love of God to give us that new life that we see. God bless you, everyone.